Hey y'all, we back with another episode of What They Not Saying. I want to dig into some stuff today, and I wasn't even gonna talk about this, but I said to myself, I don't really have a choice because I think it's pretty interesting, just seeing what's going on. Um, like right now, I've never seen so many people in my lifetime lose their mind over a watch. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like watches. Um, I went through that phase where it was just like, man, I got to get me a watch. I got to have me a nice watch. And I always kept me a nice watch just because I just wanted to have a nice watch. I liked it. You know what I mean? But it wasn't for most people, I understand a watch is not about telling time. I get it. Um, it's about a status for a lot of people. And I know for me, when I very first started going down that process of trying to get me a watch, I kept saying to myself, man, when only if I make me enough money, I'm gonna go and get me a Rolex. And over time, when I got my very first Rolex, man, I was so happy, man, it didn't make no sense. Um, and I love the watch. It was amazing. It was a statement piece every time I showed up in a room, and it just I don't know. I loved it. But the reality of it is, could I have done something better? Yeah. Was it something that was dumb for me to do? I think so. A lot of people may not agree with me on that, but I think it was 100% dumb for me to do. I know, like right now, people are losing their mind because AP has partnered up with Swatch, and they have these $300, $500 watches, and that AP name alone, people are really getting after it. I mean, people waiting in line 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours and still can't get in to get a watch. And I'm saying to myself, I thought everybody was struggling. I thought everybody didn't have money. Like, what transpired that all of a sudden you came up with an extra $300 or an extra $500 to go and get this watch that got a name on it that you have been idolizing because you're like, man, that $100,000 AP right there, I want it. And now it's like I can get it for $300 and still get the name. Like, where did this mysterious amount of money come from? Because everybody say they're broke or in between blessings, like I like to say. It was interesting to see, and it only brought some realization back to me. Right? People, they find a way to get the things that they want. And when they say they don't have money for different things, it's only because they truly don't want it. Because if they truly want something, they find ways to get it. And when I talk to people sometimes, like, hey, invest your money. You know what I mean? It's not about really saving it. You saving it only to invest. And people are like, I don't have no money to invest, but you'll go spend money on a watch. It's pretty interesting. And I can tell you again, I love watches. I can tell you that, but today, knowing the things that I know, I can't really wrap my brain around it. You know what I mean? Like, think about there are people out there that's spending before this, obviously spending 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, a million. They said Tom Brady watch he had on it, the Kevin Hart roast, was a $6 million Rolex. I'm like, ain't no way. I don't care what type of money you have or don't have. At the place where I'm at today, knowing what I know, I just can't magically wrap my brain around it. And the reason is, every time I think about it, I'm like, the number that's in my head is 20%. And I know you all probably thinking like, what is he talking about, 20%? Just think, if I'm gonna go out there and spend $1 million on a watch today, I can take that $1 million and go buy me a multi-family $4 million property and put 20% down. I'm just throwing a random number. Put 20% down. Of course, you're gonna have your fees and closing costs and all the other stuff, right? But I could take that $1 million and go get me a $4 million apartment complex. That'll get me about 50 units. What's the average rent today? About um, $1,800, $2,000 a month. Let's call it 2 grand a month, just for the sake of argument, right? If I get 46 units rented out at $2,000 a door, just 45 units at $2,000 a door, that's 90 grand a month. 90 grand a month. That's a little bit over $1 million a year. I took my $1 million and generated revenue over $1 million a year. Now, of course, I'm going to have a mortgage on that thing. I'm going to have expenses for the property. So just on that $1 million, 45% expenses. I know $450,000 going to expenses to keep that property maintained the way it's supposed to be maintained. I know I'm gonna have probably about another $25,000 in mortgage payments. I'm all in this situation. 45,000. I'm all in this thing 70 grand a month. I'm getting 90 grand a month. That's 20 grand a month that I'm cash flowing. And these are all rough numbers, y'all. But that's how my brain just jump when I think about these different things. And I'm saying to myself, like, I can't see myself doing that ever again in life. Because why would I give up this $240,000 a year, right? That I'm gonna be cash flowing, right? Every single year. That's a 24% return on that investment. You ain't getting that on your watch. That ain't even speaking to, all the tax advantages that you're gonna have when you're buying multifamily. Like, it just, in my mind, I cannot wrap my brain around it for the life of me. And I know what you're saying. It's a $300 watch. It's a $500 watch. Look, if you got $500, I'm gonna say this again. You might not be going out there buying that $1 million property. No, but could you find a property that you can go in and put a small amount down to accomplish that? You could. You could go get you a fourplex, move in one of them, and get a 5% down payment on that thing. It just is what it is. FHA will allow it. So now you got a 5% on a fourplex, call it 400 grand for the property itself. I mean, 5% is what, $20,000? You found a way to come up with $500 for a watch. You can save that $500 over time and additional money that you claim you don't have to get 20 grand to get in that multifamily. That's a whole nother animal. And guess what else you're doing? You rent out the other 3 units. Now that's paying the mortgage. So now you ain't got no mortgage. Now you ain't got no rent, allegedly. It's paying for your utility bills too. It's paying for the maintenance, the tax. It's paying for itself. So now you just basically put yourself in a position where you got a roof over your head and you just invested that 20 grand that you get back. That's some wild stuff. And while the tenants are paying down that property, the value of it is still going up. It's a win-win situation. So when I think about things like the frenzy around people going out buying watches because they lowered the price or they came out with a product that people can afford, it's nothing really new. You think about when Tesla first came out, they came out with the Model S and the X model. You're talking about $100,000 vehicle. They came out with that model, I want to say it's a Model 3. They like $35,000, $40,000. They wanted to tap into that other market because they understand, just like AP and Swatch understand, that if you take your product that you have that has a significant name behind it that people want, and you put it in mainstream for people to acquire it, man, people are going to go crazy. People are absolutely, without a doubt, going to go crazy over it. And that's what happened. They just put the market into a frenzy. Will it be sustainable? I don't know. Were they looking for it to be sustainable? Me personally, I don't think so. I think they got what they wanted out of it. Where people are going to go in, buy it, impulse, because they feel like they're getting a deal, and they're going to go on to the next thing. It just is what it is. Like, I look at it sometimes, and I see a lot of celebrities that buy a lot of watches and jewelry and all that stuff. And I always say to myself, especially like when you're looking at celebrities after they get out of their career that they're in, being a celebrity, whether it's playing ball, whether it's, some type of artist or actor or actress, whatever it is, and they have all this jewelry and stuff, and you look at this stuff and you're like, man, you went an apartment complex on your neck. Or you could have bought some land with that watch, or you could have did this with this, or you could make that investment, or whatever it is, and then they get out of that field and then they go broke. And I'm thinking to myself, are they really broke? It's time to start selling that stuff. I don't know if you're gonna get the value for it, but whatever you get for it, you can turn it into something. You could. But a lot of that stuff, it is because people just don't know. And that's why I enjoy watching some of the celebrities and entertainers that decide to make that pivot to do something different. Like, I'll give you an example, somebody that's kind of quiet, and I don't know if people really recognize, and I think some people are starting to, but that dude, Nas, oh my God, he's doing some interesting stuff. I saw the latest thing that he just had where he just got approved for that casino. He got some partners in that as well, but you're talking about $5.5 to $7.5 billion, and New York is like on fire with that. You know what I mean? And at the same time, it seemed like, shout out to Jay-Z too, but we seem like Jay-Z kind of ran into a little bit of a roadblock right now, which, you know, he's a smart dude. He'll figure it out, right? But watching what Nas did, and it's just like, wow, like, how did you have the fortitude to see all of these different things that transpire, like him investing in Uber or doing this casino deal or whatever else, whatever other adventures that he have going on, where you're taking yourself from, you know, I'm doing music, selling streams now today, right? Because I was selling albums, but selling streams, doing tours, merch. How did you, where did that connection happen where you made that switch from, I'm gonna get out of all of this entertainment thing for the most part. Every now and then I put it out there to keep the people attention, but now I'm gonna get inside of these infrastructures, real estate, long-term plays, a cash generator like the casino is something wild to even think about. So looking at, you know, these entertainers starting to make that specific transition is really, really eye-opening. And it's like, I'd be excited when I see it. And I'd be hoping that more people do that. And it's something that we all still have to take note of, because it goes back to some of the things y'all done heard me say before. You may have a business that you started, or you may have a job that you're doing today. Anything that you're doing right now that requires you to trade your time for money, anything, the money that you're generating, once your expenses are done and once your taxes are paid, anything after that, you need to be parking into things that's going to create you some type of cash flow that you don't necessarily have to trade your time to make that money. Because the truth of the matter is, at some point in your life, you know, the older or the maturer that you get in life, you're not going to be able to run around and chase money the way you're chasing money like you're doing today. You want to be in a position to where the money is actually coming because you put these different things in place so that you can cash flow without you breaking your back trying to figure this stuff out. And I see people all the time, and they say to me all the time, like, man, I wish I could do something like that. Well, you can if you start looking at your money and using it in a very different way, not going and buying silly things like watches, right? And starting to take that money and put it in places that money is going to work for you. That's the real secret sauce. That's where the magic really happens. And you just got to commit to it. And if you commit to it, you can easily make that transition, because the blueprint is the same. It might be different vehicles that people ride in or going and get into that place that we're calling wealth, but the blueprint is the same. And that's the part that's pretty interesting. So, you know, I know for me, I've made a very deliberate decision to, whenever I encounter money, I'm looking to put it to work before I think of anything else that's going to transpire. And that's been a little bit of the secret sauce for me. Look, y'all, that leads me into the next thing: flex culture versus reality. Um, I can't tell you enough on, you know, man, I know for me, maybe it's because of maybe how I kind of grew up. I've really never been the person that want to flex. So I'm thankful for that. But it's hurting a lot of people, y'all. It really is hurting a lot of people, man. I haven't seen in my lifetime so many people that's going out and getting veneers, which, again, getting your teeth right, nothing wrong with that. If you can afford to do it. Different things done to their bodies, whether it's women or men. I just saw again, they was talking about this young man that, I don't know if he put rods in his legs or what to make himself taller. They said that procedure costs $80,000. And in my mind, I'm saying to myself, look, if you're doing stuff to make yourself feel better about what you're doing, go for it. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Do whatever you want to do. But in my mind, I'm still trying to, I don't know, I just have a hard time in my head wrapping my brain around the creator put you on this planet with all the tools that you need. The creator put you on this planet with all the tools that you need. So when I think about that, I'm saying to myself, like, I get some things, I guess I can justify based off of what I want to do. Maybe we all are like that. But the truth of the matter is that, you know, as I started to mature and I started to think more about, you know, my family, my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, my great grandkids, people in my bloodline that I ain't never gonna meet. I started to think about how can I put them in a position to where they can have a head start on life and don't have to go through some of the struggles that I went through growing up. And I know that some people say the struggles it builds character, and I get it. But the truth of the matter of it is, I think some struggles you can avoid and still still build the same character, because the reality of it is it's about your home training. That's ultimately what it's about. It's not really about having to go through stuff to understand. Sometimes, and a lot of times, people should learn from other people's mistakes and other people's struggles and avoid those things. Like, people should be able to do that. I do believe that. And one of the things for me, I've been real hell bent on, man, I need to teach my kids just the principles, the process, and the systems that they need to use going through life, because that stuff don't necessarily change as much. The base, the foundation of these different processes and systems and principles that you need to have, not necessarily give them money. Because the one thing that I found very interesting, and I've always heard it, but it never really clicked until later on in life. Wealthy people ain't leaving their kids money, yo. I was in shock when I heard that. I'm like, why they don't leave their kids no money? And again, it's like, man, like, that, giving them money ain't really teaching them nothing. It really don't. You can teach them processes. You can teach them systems. You can put them in a position where they understand how to keep something going. They don't necessarily need to get a bag full of money when you leave here. They need to get educated on the information that they need to take, and making sure they know that they have to execute. Period. And that comes with spending time with the people that you say you care about and love the most. Constantly teaching them what they need to learn, drilling it in their head till it becomes something that's second nature. Now look, we got, for those of us that have kids, we know some of our kids, they're gonna do what they want to do regardless of the situation, and you need other systems and processes in place in order to make those different things happen, because kids will be kids. It just is what it is, right? But for the most part, if you, from what I've seen, a lot of people that I've seen growing up, they get a taste of money, any type of wealth, any type of riches, fortunes, whatever. Man, people flexing all over the place. I mean, all over the place. It never fails. And the real people that are wealthy, what they're doing while you're flexing, they're creating the things for you to flex with. They're creating the expensive vehicles. They're creating these lavish hotels. They're creating these expensive restaurants. They're creating the clothes. The real wealthy people are creating these things. They're not out here flexing along with you. They're creating it. Period. Like, one of the things that I'm learning, and I'm still going through my journey, because it's a lifelong journey. Anything that I want, that I gotta have, at some point, I'm going to start a business in it. And that makes me realize how much that I don't need these things. It makes me realize that I just want these things, right? But I put these things into different businesses. Why? Because if I'm going to do it anyway, I might as well turn it into a business. I'm probably not the only person on the planet that enjoys these different things, right? But those are the things that I typically look at. So, like, for me, man, I've always had a dream of having a family compound, a bunch of land, beautiful landscape, ATV pool, a lake, the fish. I mean, anything you can think of. I've been kind of, that's always been my dream. And when I started buying land, and I said, oh man, we're gonna build our family compound, I can start to see my dream come true. But I started to think, like, okay, man, these property taxes gonna kick my butt. man, this utility bill gonna be crazy. I know the light bill to keep this thing lit gonna be insane. The water bill gonna be crazy too, right? Not realizing that, the people that have these estates, these compounds, there are other things that they do. They have wells, they have generators to, kind of offset some of this stuff. Maybe they don't have as much land cleared off to keep manicured for the most part. Maybe they don't have a 20,000 square foot property on a 50 acre lot. They don't do all of that. They do the necessary thing for their family that they're supposed to have, and they gradually put things into place that they can maintain because it just is what it is. Man, the property tax is gonna be through the roof on a 50 acre property. Man, make sure your property that you're gonna put your compound on is residential / agriculture, and make sure you get that thing in the parts of the land, which is gonna be obviously outside of your home. Make sure you get that land back inside of a conservation. They're gonna cut off 2/3 of their property taxes. It's a beautiful thing. You can also look at things like the CRP program. We talked about that before too, and I'm going to always mention these things so you all can get used to those terms. But again, it's what the government paying you. You're not farming. It is what it is. It's a beautiful thing, y'all. So you just learn so much stuff and learn different things to do when you're trying to go through this journey and make this thing happen. And that's ultimately what it's about. But while you're going through these journey, what are some of the major issues that you have? Distractions. Everybody distracted. So people get thrown off at every corner. So just think about it for a second, right? There's more opportunity now than ever for people to get rich, become wealthy, whatever it is they want to do in life. But people are also more distracted today than they've ever been. And what are they mostly distracted by? Strolling, looking at everything else, trying to figure out what's going on everywhere else. And people got a very short attention span, because attention really is the new currency, but people have a very short attention span. If people's attention ain't caught right away, they just keep strolling until something catches their attention. And the people realistically is out there is like, man, I want to get out of my rat race. I want to do something different. I remember they're not losing because of the lack of the opportunity, because the opportunities are here, y'all. They're losing because their attention is somewhere else. And you have to be laser focused right now, because again, it's not that you can't easily be distracted, because there's a distraction no matter what you like, there's always a distraction. It doesn't matter what the situation is. And if you don't put yourself in a position to really make a decision to focus on what you got to focus on, it's going to be tough, y'all. And I know for me, that was probably the hardest thing. It's almost like, if you don't read a lot, right? You don't read a lot of books. And you pick up a book one day and you start reading, your mind will easily zone somewhere else. Sometimes you'll just go to sleep while you're reading, because your brain's not really used to doing certain things. Well, it's the same thing with distraction. If you're one of those people that are easily distracted, you have to practice being focused, so you can get your brain used to doing something different without you easily being distracted. I can tell you, like, I would go hours and hours and hours thinking. I still do that today. But when I very first started trying to think, man, I'd be thinking about something, and I don't know how my mind just automatically goes somewhere else, and I automatically jump somewhere else. I had 5 to 7 seconds for something to catch my attention. If I was thinking about something and really wanted to think about it hard, if it didn't catch my attention in 5 to 7 seconds, if something else did, I was going on to something else. So that's a part of training your brain to do what you want your brain to do, number one, but it's the part of helping you shift your mindset. Because again, when you're going out here and you're trying to build wealth, get generational wealth, the way people say, it starts with you thinking. You got to visualize all of this stuff first. And that stuff takes practice, y'all. It ain't something that comes easy. Like, think about how many courses you done been through in your lifetime, and you're excited about the course. And as soon as that excitement wears off, however long that is into your course, you don't ever pick up that course again. I can go up to my library right now, man. There's so many different courses, books, whatever that I've tried. And I'm just like, I get distracted with something else and be like, oh man, I'm on to the next thing. So it's one of those things that you got to think about heavily and make it make sense. The next thing I want to get into is trading your time for money. It is a complete trap. It really is, y'all. And a lot of people fall victim of it, right? You think about the traditional thing that people think about when I say, you hear trading time for money. I mean, I got a job, I get up and I go to work, get my time up. I do that for 2 weeks. I get paid. And when I get paid, I pay my bills. I ain't got no more money left. So I go back to work and do the same thing again. That's the traditional way that people think when it comes to trading time for money. This new version of trading time for money is still the same thing. It's just packaged a little bit different. You have people that say, hey, I'm becoming a content creator, meaning I can do my content anywhere I want to do it. I can be on vacation, I can be here, I can be there, and I can just do my content anywhere I want to do it. So I'm not necessarily trading for time for money. You're still trading time for money, people. Or the big one, and this is like the sleeping giant I call. I started me a business. I'm my own employee, and I'm my only employee, and I am working my business, and I've been doing that now for the last 15 years. And it's just me because I don't trust people. So I'm going to make sure my business do what it need to do the right way the first time around. You're still trading time for money. And it's even more scarier, right? And the way you got to think about this is trying to make you understand the correlation, right? So if your income stops when you stop working, you're trading time for money. I'm going to say that again because I don't think nobody heard what I just said. If your income if you stop working, you're trading time for money. It don't matter if you got a business. It don't matter if you're a content creator. It don't matter if you got a job. It's all the same. If you stop working and your money stop coming in because you stop working, you are trading time for money. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that's the part that you have to figure out how you're going to separate the two. And that's what wealthy people have mastered. See, majority of the people trade their time for money. Wealthy people figured out how to trade their money for time because they spend their time trying to figure out how to get rid of it, not necessarily on how to get it. They understand that. They trying to figure out when this money come in, where's it going to go? Because it can't stay with me. I don't need it. I don't want it, right? So a lot of times what'll happen is they'll pay you for your time to go generate more money. But without them paying you for your time, they're getting their time back to go do what they want to do. You get it? Think about it. On your job right now today, you have what's called a time sheet for the most part. And if you don't have a time sheet and you're on salary, man, that might even be even worse because now when you're working over the 40 hours in a week, you're not getting paid any extra. You're on a salary. So they figured out a way to pay you for 40 hours worth of work. And if you decide to work a little bit over that to get some other stuff done, hey man, that's you. They always going to advise you not to. But the truth of the matter is you probably working more than 40 hours if you're on salary. That's a scary thought. And people don't not really ready to have that conversation. If you're a content creator, it's the same thing. If you're not putting content out there, you're not getting paid. Unless you're working through something else and you didn't create some form of a business in that aspect of it, and you creating content and you getting it to where you can get your money residual off of the content you already put out there, that's a different conversation, right? If you're a business owner, same thing, y'all. If you can't figure out how to separate your time from making that money so it still comes in, you're in the same rat race. And there's not really a lot you can do about it other than start to think in a different way. How do I go from trading my time for money? I got to think. I got to start creating things that will generate money. And if I can create something that generate money, which is cool, in the midst of me creating it, I need to create something that I can automate, something that will put me in a position to where it's going to work regardless if I'm working or not. That's the real secret sauce, right? I know for me, like, and you always gonna hear me say this, man, I'm always gonna look at things like real estate for the most part because of all the tax advantages that it have, the cash flow side of it. Like, it's just a whole nother animal. And it's something that everybody gotta have, right? So I look at real estate. Some people might say, hey man, I'm heavy on the stock market because I can invest my money in a stock market. The companies are big corporations. They got their own management team. They've been doing this stuff forever. And this stuff is kind of predictable on what I can do and what I can't do. Some people like crypto. Like the reality of it is, whatever it is that you decide to do, it needs to be something to where you can put yourself in a position to where you don't have to trade your time to do it. You get it? Meaning that it can happen. You know, you can the first couple of times around, maybe you're putting something into it to make it start working, but then it becomes I'm putting the money to work, not putting myself to work, and that's really the magic, right? That's where the magic really happens, and you just got to be disciplined enough to say to yourself that, hey, I'm gonna jump on this and I'm gonna make this work, and nobody's gonna stop me because I'm not gonna allow anybody to stop me from making these different things happen. The other thing is that, and this is a big one, and I say this a lot to a lot of the business owners that are over here on Zabo 103 TV when they first jump on here. The very first thing every business owner always try to figure out is, hey man, how do I get funding? And I'm thinking to myself, well, before we even get to that point, what is it that you do? What kind of business do you have? Do you even have a business? And then I find out they have an LLC, and that's amazing, but they haven't done the first thing to make their first sale, but they already talking about getting funding. And I always tell people the same thing. Yes, getting funding, it can have its advantages, but you got to pay that stuff back. It ain't nothing wrong with using other people's money at all, but you do got to pay that money back. It's not free money. It just is what it is, y'all. And getting funding for business versus personal, business funding is very expensive. And a lot of people, when they hop off the porch to start their business and they go get funding out the gate, they instantly are over leveraged. It's probably one of the main reasons why a lot of businesses go under in the first 2 years, simply because they over leverage too quick. It happens more than you know. And a lot of times these people, when they get funding, they're just trying to fund their lifestyle. That's just what it mainly boils down to. They be credit card stacking, lines of credit, all type of stuff, which means they probably had good credit at some point, right? But the truth of the matter is they're just really trying to fund a lifestyle. And again, that's that fake it till you make it life. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's not even worth it. You know, I tell people the juice ain't worth the squeeze. It really ain't. But the maintenance you have on your lifestyle can take you under quick. So I'm always going to say that whenever you start to look at, you know, starting your business, getting your business off the ground, go into business with a real business. Go into business really conducting business. Go into business going to generate that revenue. Yeah, you're going to go get funding. But when you go get funding, remember, the only purpose of money is to make money. It has no other purpose. So when you go get funding, it's to make more money. No other reason. You're not getting funding just to pay off this or pay off that. Like, that's not why you're going to get funding. You're going to get funding so you can make more money. That's really the name of the game. The only purpose of money is to make money. It has no other purpose. And you got to start to ask yourself, do I want funding so I can show that I got a business and I got me $500,000 in funding? Okay. Have your business made 500 grand yet? Ever? Have your business made $500? Like, all this stuff matters, y'all. So I want to tell people, like, at some point, you got to understand, you don't want to put yourself back in the same position that you started in. Okay, I started this business, I got overfunded, now I got to go out of business, now I got to go back to work. It's a waste of time. And it hurts your ego more than anything. It kills your confidence. So just make it make sense when you're going through this process, because the reality of it is it's about conducting business. And in the process of you conducting business, when it's time for you to get funding to expand your business, to scale your business, then go for it. You know what I mean? But before then, you need to be learning the business, the ins and the outs, the do's and the don'ts, when you need to do this versus why you're not doing it right now. Like, all of that stuff matters. So I would keep that in mind going into it, because it is a big piece of the problem that people have, just simply because people want to look the part, but they ain't trying to really be the part. You know, this leads me to the next thing, and this is something that I ain't gonna say near and dear to my heart, because the reality of it is I've always been that person that tried to stay out of the light for the most part. But the loudest people aren't always the richest. It really ain't. Like, most people don't understand real money don't need attention. It just don't. And if you put yourself in a position to believe that, hey, look, I got to be super loud, I got to be super attention seeking throughout this whole process, um, in order to get wealth, you might be in for a rude awakening. So you gotta start thinking through what makes sense and what don't make sense, because the real truth is, people that got real money, you don't hear them like that. You don't even know they exist. And that's the part that's super funny when you think about it. And don't get me wrong, there are people out there that's building wealth and they're making a lot of noise in that process. But what I notice is that when when I be studying like wealthy people versus studying some of the rich people, I see the wealthy people do a lot of stuff behind the scene. And you don't see it while they're doing it, obviously. You see it after it's already done. Like, that was done. They went and bought this business. They went and invested in this. They went in and got this apartment complex. They went ahead and started this corporation. Like, you don't see these things till after the fact, but before all you see all this stuff, you'll never hear nothing about it. A lot of people that are the loudest, you'll hear them teleporting, or you'll see them talking about these different things way before the stuff transpire. And I'm one of those people that like to say things out loud too sometimes, because I'm like, hey, look, once I speak it into the universe, I ain't got no choice but to get it done. It used to be one of the things that I did to help hold me accountable. Like, I would talk to people and tell them what I was going to do before I did it. And I would love hearing people say, you're not going to do it. And then it'll make me actually do it. And when I went said in advance, it gave me an out. Which in the beginning, it was something that helped me out a lot to get started with a lot of the things I was doing. Later, man, it started to become ugly, because some people would go and do some of these things before I did it, meaning that some of my ideas would get taken before I was ready to do it. Some people, the shock factor of certain things popping out when they pop out ain't there, because you're talking about things too soon, which having a shock factor of doing something that nobody expected you to do automatically garners a certain amount of attention within itself, which, again, that's a part of your sales process, right? So it's one of those things where I had to learn that, while I was holding myself accountable by doing it the opposite way, the better way is just, hey, look, I'm disciplined enough to get the stuff done that I want to get done. I don't have to talk to nobody else about it for them to hold me accountable for me doing it. I can just hold myself accountable, which was way more powerful. It does take discipline, obviously, but the truth of the matter is, we're disciplined for the things that we want to be disciplined on, 100%. So I always say to myself, like, if I can look back and go do some of these other things in a different way, with just being disciplined myself, some of the things that I put out there probably could have been bigger when they first rolled out. Some of those things where I had different ideas that got kind of taken from me, those things, I don't think they would have transpired. It doesn't mean that somebody else didn't have the same idea, but it does mean some of those people that I talked to about it that mysteriously did some of these things, they'd have been following my lead versus me basically following their lead in that situation, because they were able to accomplish it before me. The other thing is that in those processes, it made me realize that, system builders, it's a real thing, y'all, versus just participating in these things, right? Because some people interact with the system. Those people are participating with the system, right? The other people that build them, man, those are the power players, y'all. Like, it is what it is, right? When you start thinking about platforms, infrastructures, and whether you are the person that's building the platform and building the infrastructure versus the person that just participating in those things, man, it's night and day on your returns that you get for stuff like that, right? So think about all the people that's driving Uber today. Man, when Uber first came out and people are like, hey man, I can drive Uber, I can drive when I want to drive, I can make some extra cash. It's a beautiful thing. It was amazing for those people. But think how amazing it was for the people that built Uber. Think about them cats that built Uber. Put that system into place, that infrastructure. It was absolutely phenomenal for them. And in that process, like everything evolves over time. Where are we at today with things like Uber? Now we have a company like Waymo that's partnering with Uber that's have self-driving cars. I'm here in Georgia and I see them in Atlanta all day long where they have these self-driving cars. They come and picking people up and dropping them off. They're not even using the drivers no more. Think about that for a second. That's something interesting to look at. Then you think about you think about like DoorDash and stuff like that. They have some self-driving delivery service for your food, your products, all this stuff. This stuff is going to get interesting. But the person that was participating in that infrastructure or that platform, they're going to get thrown by the wayside. Meanwhile, the people that built that infrastructure or built the actual platform, guess what? They're still going to reap the benefits of having those things because they're the ones that put it together. You get it? So anytime you're going into anything, I believe you always need to have, you always need to be the people or the person that is building the infrastructure, building the platform. And I know that, having a piece of something is better than having all of nothing. I get it. But the reality of it is I'm one of those people that believe that if I go build the infrastructure, I go build the platform, everybody that believes that they just need a piece of it, I'll give you a piece of it to put it to work. That's just me. That's just the way I think about things. So it's pretty interesting when you start to look at things in a different way because the money is different when you build a system. It's very different when you build a system. Look, y'all, no matter if you're one of those people that ran out and bought the $300 AP watch, you're watching what celebrities are doing today, good investment, bad investments, what they're doing, thinking about the lifestyle that people are trying to garner, whether that's in a good way or a bad way, that's all depending on you. All of it's pointing to the same thing. Everybody's watching the surface, but not understanding what's really going on with the structure. Look, I hope that these things are things that you can start to look at and start to see what people aren't telling us, right? To see the things that are not being said and start to understand how to piece that stuff together so that you can benefit in your own life. Look, I appreciate y'all tapping in. In the meantime, y'all be good. I have fun being bad, and I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Peace. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me say this real quick, y'all. If you're getting value from this, you're only seeing a piece of it. We go way deeper inside of Zabo 103 TV. It's where you're getting real live sessions on this stuff, real conversation. We're breaking this stuff down in real time. So if you want to get ahead instead of catching up, go ahead and upgrade. Tap in over here at Zabo 103 TV.